The bar was loud, filled with the clinking of beer glasses, laughter, and the thump of rock music playing on the jukebox. But in one corner, a waitress named Sarah was quietly working, moving from table to table with a tired smile. That night, a gang of bikers stormed in, leather jackets, tattoos, heavy boots stomping against the wooden floor. They were rowdy, rough, and already drunk. Most people in the bar tried not to look at them. But Sarah had no choice. It was her job to serve them when one of the bikers suddenly grabbed her by the arm, ripped her shirt in front of everyone, and revealed what she had been hiding beneath. The entire bar froze in shock. What happened next was something no one in that room would ever forget. Before I share the rest of this story, take a moment to hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment down below. Your support helps us spread more powerful stories of kindness and humanity right here on Ripple of Love. Sarah was 27 years old and had been working as a waitress at Joe's Roadhouse bar for 3 years. Life hadn't been kind to her. She was a single mom raising a 6-year-old daughter named Lily. Her husband had walked out when Lily was just a baby, leaving Sarah to juggle bills, daycare, and endless shifts just to make ends meet. Despite her struggles, she always wore a smile. She was known at the bar for her patience, her ability to calm even the rowdiest of customers, and her soft way of speaking that made people feel respected. But behind that smile, Sarah carried scars, both visible and hidden. That Friday night, the bar was buzzing. Locals were winding down after a long week, and the jukebox blasted classic rock. Sarah balanced trays of drinks, slipping between tables with practiced ease. That's when the doors slammed open. A group of 6 bikers walked in, their presence heavy and intimidating. The leader, a tall man with a beard and a leather vest covered in patches, scanned the room with a smirk. The others followed, laughing loudly and pushing chairs aside to claim a long table near the front. Everyone noticed. The atmosphere shifted. Conversations quieted, and nervous glances spread across the room. But Sarah, as always, approached with her polite smile. "What can I get you gentlemen tonight?" she asked. The men ordered rounds of beer, shots of whiskey, and demanded food. Sarah nodded and hurried off, but she could feel their eyes on her back the entire time. As the night wore on, the bikers grew louder. Their laughter turned into shouting, their jokes sharper, meaner. Sarah did her best to keep up, but she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that trouble was coming. Then it happened. One of the bikers, already unsteady on his feet, reached out and grabbed Sarah's arm as she passed by. "Hey, sweetheart," he slurred, yanking her closer. She tried to pull away, but he grinned wickedly and tugged at her shirt. The fabric tore with a sharp rip, exposing her shoulder and part of her chest. Gasps echoed through the bar, but it wasn't just skin that was revealed. Beneath her shirt, strapped close to her heart, was a small medical port taped carefully to her chest. The sight was unmistakable. She wasn't hiding tattoos or jewelry. She was hiding the evidence of chemotherapy treatments. The entire bar fell silent. The biker froze, his grin fading into shock. Sarah stumbled back, clutching her torn shirt, her face pale with embarrassment. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to cover herself. For months, Sarah had kept her illness private. She didn't want pity. She didn't want people treating her differently. She wanted to be strong for her daughter, to keep life moving as normally as possible. But in that instant, her secret was laid bare before everyone. For a moment, no one moved. The silence was deafening. And then, something unexpected happened. The leader of the bikers, the tall man with the beard, stood up slowly. His eyes weren't cruel anymore. They were wide, almost pained. He looked at Sarah, then at the man who had ripped her shirt. Without a word, he grabbed his fellow biker by the collar and yanked him back into his seat. "That's enough," he growled. His voice carried authority, a command that silenced even the drunkest of his crew. With the bar held its breath, the leader walked over to Sarah, who was trembling and clutching her shirt closed. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a thick wad of cash, and gently placed it on her tray. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice steady but heavy. "No one should ever treat you that way. Drinks, food, everything's covered tonight. And if anyone here gives you trouble again, they'll answer to me." Sarah stared at him, stunned. The crowd watched in disbelief as the same man who had swaggered in with arrogance was now speaking with genuine remorse. And then, one by one, the other bikers stood. They each pulled out bills from their wallets, 50s, 20s, whatever they had, and added them to the pile. Some of them avoided Sarah's eyes, ashamed. Others gave her small, apologetic nods. Within minutes, her tray was stacked with enough money to cover not just the night, but weeks of expenses. The bar erupted, not in laughter or music, but in applause. Customers stood, clapping for Sarah, for the unexpected turn, for the reminder that kindness can surface in the most unlikely places. Sarah's tears spilled freely now, but they weren't just from shame. They were from relief, gratitude, and the overwhelming realization that she wasn't as alone as she thought. That night, she went home to Lily with a bag full of cash and a story that would stay with her forever. She tucked her daughter into bed, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "People are kinder than we think, baby. Don't ever forget." That's the next day, word spread through the small town. People couldn't stop talking about the biker who had stood up for the waitress, about the strangers who had shown unexpected compassion. Some came by the bar just to leave extra tips for Sarah. Others quietly slipped envelopes of money into her hands. Her fight with cancer wasn't over, but she was no longer fighting it alone. Even the biker gang returned weeks later, not rowdy this time, but calm, respectful. They sat quietly, ordered food, and when they left, they tipped generously. Sarah knew then that her vulnerability had changed something in them too. Maybe it reminded them of their own mothers, sisters, or daughters. Maybe it reminded them that beneath the leather and the bravado, they were still human. Sometimes, kindness doesn't come wrapped in pretty packages. Sometimes it arrives in the rough hands of those we least expect. That night in Joe's Roadhouse bar proved something powerful. Kindness has the strength to silence cruelty, to turn shame into dignity, and to inspire a whole room full of strangers. Sarah's story reminds us that everyone is fighting battles we can't see. And sometimes, it only takes one act, one moment of compassion, to change everything. So, the next time you find yourself in a position to choose whether to look away or to step in, remember Sarah, the waitress with the quiet smile. Remember the biker who chose kindness over cruelty, and remember this: kindness isn't weakness. It's the strongest force we have.